That's right back, Charlie. That's right.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. Big up Ian, right? For that, I could take it from here. People deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, in some cases, good night. Obviously, David Ornstein has provided an update on Ricardo Calafiori, and we're moving that much closer to putting to bed this saga and getting him into the football club. And I guess then, you know, attention goes towards midfield, striker, inside forward, the futures of, you know, someone like Nico Williams. We'd all love whether we're able to get him is another thing. We've been re-linked with Gyökeres once again. And by now, you've probably seen several videos coming out from myself and in the process of coming out. Don't forget to my ones in the United Kingdom. We kick off today, or better yet, kick off our pre-season tour of America with a game against Bournemouth. We're playing at 3:30 a.m. UK time. I'll be live from 3 o'clock. So, yeah, big respect to the fans of you lot that are in America, in, I don't know, America and Australia, the only ones that come to mind. No disrespect, all of you lot that are in foreign lands that have to put up with some crazy time zones, people. Let me know your thoughts on Calafiori, potentially what it means for Arsenal. Reece Nelson's been linked with Leicester, which is music to my ears, because whether it's West Ham, whether it's Leicester, whoever is interested in him, it just drives the price up. Same goes for Emil Smith-Rowe, even though I don't want him to go. The same goes for Nketiah. And Kiwior has been aggressively linked with Inter Milan, in particular in the last 24 hours, more so today as well, really and truly. So the more people that want to buy our players that don't appear for whatever reason to be in Mikel Arteta's plans for next season, the better, people. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, people. Yeah, and don't forget to vote for their guy, man. The fact you think Calafiori replaces Timber's position is mad. It's not even debatable. What did I say? I've been here for 3 minutes. I have not said anything. I think too many people are drawing conclusions. What I would say is, it's well known. Arteta himself said we've got one of the smallest squads. We want to go as far as we can in the Champs, the FA Cup and the League Cup. Bearing in mind the Champions League now has 2 extra games. We all know it all depends on form, the game state, the dynamics of the team, and what Mikel Arteta wants to do. But to have Timber, Calafiori, Benjamin White, Saliba, Gabriel, such as our defensive depth, are missing out some players. If you want to play, make sure Mikel Arteta can't leave you out. We've got some good problems, really and truly. And I think too much is being drawn. We don't know if it's going to be Calafiori or Timber. We don't know if it's going to be Timber and Benjamin White. We don't know if it's going to be Calafiori at left back and Benjamin White at right back. We don't know if Calafiori might even take Gabriel's spot. Who knows? Calafiori might be on the bench. We just don't know. It depends, you know. Obviously, we signed him because we believe he's a good player, but it depends what Mikel Arteta, getting up close and personal, believes of the guy. And interestingly, you know, he's been at Bologna for a year. He's been at Basel for a year. This is the place where Arsenal's concerned, in theory, that, you know, he's going to be here for a long period of time. I'm actually in the process of doing another video in relation to Calafiori, people. So, yeah, make sure your notification bells are out, people. But we don't know. What I would say is, I've said it before, I've dreamed of this, you know, to have Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, you know, Benjamin White. And if I haven't said your name, no disrespect, we dreamed of this from the days of Socrates, Pablo Mari. I don't like throwing him into that kind of bracket, but David Luiz, Mustafi, Callum Chambers, Rob Holding. Now we finally got some serious guys, you know, that are very good, but they're nowhere near the finished product. Calafiori definitely isn't at 22 years of age. You know, he gives us an option at centre half as well as at left back. You look at all of the statistics, they're all quite positive. I do think he might struggle with the pacey wingers in the Premier League, and he's not slow. I just think from what I've seen, that could be an issue. But where he might, you know, struggle there, he makes up with intelligence, man. And we finally got a guy like this, and he'll go a long way. He's got a long way to go. Apologies to ever be mentioned with the Cannavaros, the Maldinis, the Nestas. The list goes on of great Italian defenders. But Bonucci, Chiellini, you hear the way they speak about him in Italy. You hear the way these former players speak about him. And I'm happy we got him, really and truly. And again, for someone that's done well for Bologna in one season where they've got Champions League football, don't forget to smash the like button, and enhanced his reputation in the Euros. To get him for 50 odd million euros, which equates to about 40 odd and a bit of add-ons, it's a good look, really and truly. And for me, crucially, I think Timber is over the majority of his ACL injury, but we have to remember he was out for a very long time, so we have to give him time. We look at left back last season. I forgot to even mention Tomiyasu in the depth. Big fan of Tomiyasu. Unfortunately, his name is synonymous with injuries. You look at the left-hand side of our pitch, whether it was because of injuries and all of those kind of things, you know, we didn't have any real consistency there. So if Calafiori comes in and he's first choice, fair enough, man. But we've got depth. And also, we've got to remember in terms of closing out games, I would say in particular where, and when we talk about Timber, we forget he can play centre-half, the same for Tomiyasu. When we look at Saliba and Benjamin White in particular, you know, Saliba played every minute, Benjamin White more or less the same. I've got no complaints. If we want to be a title winning side, we need to keep players fit and play our best players. But it's well known Benjamin White has been playing with a lot of injuries. He's known to lie to the medical staff in a positive way to play. So if we can rest certain players and keep their legs fresh, why not, man? Because I won't quite say we got away with injuries, because Tomiyasu was forever injured. Partey was injured. We did have injuries, but quote unquote, we did kind of get away with it last season. We might not necessarily. Before we get into what David Ornstein said in The Athletic and all the surrounding talking points, I want to hear what you lot have to say. Terrell, big up yourself. DG, where you been? To be fair, I've been about, man. This is how I know you ain't got your notification bells on and not following on YouTube. I haven't gone away anywhere, man. Bro, we've been talking about Caladog for weeks. To be fair, we have, man. I need that Williams number 14, G. Listen, I think everybody would love to see Nico Williams sign for Arsenal Football Club, and I hope I'm wrong, but it seems that Barcelona are the front runners. If something happens and Barcelona can't afford him, he has a change of heart. Mikel Arteta is able to get his phone number and talk to him. Who knows? Things could change. You know, Nico Williams would be a great signing. You know, you look at Nico Williams, Calafiori, you sign another midfielder, whether Benjamin White, Declan Rice, apologies, is going to play in that left eight or whatever. Solidity in that regards, man. And it's just about options, really. I like that we're addressing the left-hand side dynamics, especially the versatility we now have in build-up with the likes of Calafiori and Timber, also the potential addition of Moreno. That's it, my dude. If Eddie leaves Arsenal for Marseille, who will get the number 14 shirt? Not going to lie, I see that number being vacant for a while. But hey, I don't know. Respectfully to Eddie Nketiah, if he could wear the number 14, whether I agree with it or not, if I'm Kai Havertz, if I'm Gabriel Jesus, I'm trying to put my name forward to that. What I would say is, can we leave that shirt alone until we're going to, forgive me, no disrespect to the existing options, but until we're going to sign a serious striker, we'd all love Isaac or someone of that ilk. Leave that number vacant, really. To be fair, number 14 and number 10 could be vacant in the next couple of weeks. DG can't scream tomorrow, but good Cali is coming. Looks like it will be left back with 4 centre-back options and rotations we can have. And I don't think we'll do it, but in theory, bro, you could have a lovely 3 at the back in general with the options we've got, man. He's a lot faster than Zinni. I mean, the problem with Zinni is Zinni ain't got a brain. You can be a slow defender as long as you've got a brain. Zinni ain't got a defensive bone in his body. I do think he's improved a lot defensively. I do think people are a bit disrespectful to Zinchenko and they scapegoat him. But ultimately, you know, we've got what we've paid for, which is a great player that's good in, you know, when the sun is shining at the Emirates. But when it's crunch time, it's issues. I do. Obviously, people will look at the Fulham game at home or Aston Villa away. I think that's scapegoating, because you go and watch the goals we conceded. Zinchenko's not alone, and the whole team should have put the game to bed in that first half. The Fulham at home, you can't just blame Zinchenko. Remove Zinchenko. I know people have Saka and Ramsdale in high regards, but how did we concede the first goal? But yeah, Zinchenko, unless it's a marginalized squad, bro, you can't really do anything. And again, I think I've covered it in a previous video. It should come out after this. Zinchenko's been speaking about competition. The collective comes first. I want every player to want to play and in some sort of way feel like their ego's been bruised, but the collective comes first. For Mikel Arteta, a wealth of options. For Arsenal, a wealth of options. And we're prepared, because obviously, excluding Tomiyasu, because we've heard he's got a knee knock, if everybody's fit, then people are going to have to be patient for first team football. If there's injuries and suspensions and loss of form and all of these things, the dynamics start to shift. And although I think Calafiori might start initially because he's a shiny new toy, we just bought him for 40 odd million. He's naturally left footed and whatnot. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee, really and truly. What I do think, beyond the obvious, is Timber's arrival last season, I wouldn't say kicked Benjamin White up the bum, but it kicked him. It made his form go even well. And this is what we want it to be. If we want to be a competitive side, nobody's owed anything. And I'm going a bit extreme with it, but I dream of a world. And again, we're light years away from that, where you look at Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice. If we had players of their level or ilk in the squad, they might have to look over their shoulders. Not that I feel complacency is a problem at Arsenal, because I don't think Mikel Arteta will allow these players to be complacent. And I just think generally, collectively as a squad, we can't afford to be complacent. Last time I checked, yeah, we had a great season, broke so many records, but what did we win? We didn't win nothing. Maybe when we win Prems and Champs, people can afford complacency. Until then, there can't be a complacent bone in anyone's body. Hey, DG, who else do you think Arteta should strengthen before the window shuts? Also, any news on Ramsdale getting loaned out? Getting sold. The rumours say he could be loaned. In relation to signings, honestly, not a clue. I'd love Coop Miners, though. There are games for Zinchenko in a low block, but yeah, we've got so many options, which is a good thing. Zinchenko can be part of the squad. Like you said, if there's games where there's a million players behind the ball, we're struggling to break them down, the sun is shining at the Emirates, then you look at your Zinchenko. And for whatever people have to say, he spent like however many years at City, won a bunch of trophies. There's a lot to like about Zinchenko. Of course, if we're on selling him, I'm on that. I know many people where we speak about with Zinchenko will say, you know what, could you play him in the 10 or 8? I guess you could, but then I would say, you're not gonna play on a consistent basis. There's a reason, which I don't know, why Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola made you a fullback, or better yet, Pep, or have a reluctance to start you organically in midfield. And if you have played in midfield, you haven't played there on a consistent basis. He is a good option to potentially play in the 10 if Odegaard's not there. Again, if we've got the bulk of possession and we're enjoying things, then Zinni can do his thing. But if it's the typical Premier League game, then I don't really want to see Zinchenko with significant minutes. But it is what it is, man. I'm happy that this Calafiori will finally get done as soon as Bologna and Basel settle on the sell-on clause. And on Mikel Moreno, wrap that up and move to the next target. Who would be the next target? You'd imagine we bring in a wide man. Who that is, I don't know. Again, we're linked with Gyökeres once again. We tried to get Sesko, so clearly we've got our eyes and ears open to if we could sign a striker. But I'm pessimistic on the striker. I think we're going to part that off until next year, man. Why we need a bad man striker kill games off. It would be lit. And it's crazy because we got 91 Premier League goals, over 100 in all comps, and we're still saying we need a striker. So maybe we're over exaggerating our need for a striker. But I just think with the eye test, we need someone that's clinical, because we know in the last 2 years we've scored a bunch of goals. We know we're going to score goals again. But my question to you lot is, who is going to score those goals? They've all got the capacity. A fit Gabriel Jesus, I'm backing him. You know, Kai Havertz, continue that form. Trossard, sick. Martinelli, let's get back to the form that you had of the previous year to the one that's just gone. You know, Bukayo Saka is the only one I'm going to bet on, because if I had to bet my life savings, because you're the only one that's kind of done it. Number 10 defo should be Odegaard, but my Smith Rowe stocks haven't been sold yet. It's looking like the beginning of the end. Naturally, Odegaard should get the 10, but I just think, because I can't remember it, but when he got the 8 shirt, there was a big song and dance made about it. So maybe that's just his number. I still think Zinni is a useful profile to have in the squad for certain scenarios. Amen. I think he could, I'm not looking at to see you play anything more than make 10 starts in all comps and maybe 20 odd in all competitions. Really, well, 20 appearances. We just need to use him in the same way Manchester City did. I'm sure there was a year, maybe even the last year before he joined us or the year before, he was a marginalized figure for City. Gabriel Jesus the same. When it got to the running at the end of the season, I'd still remember Zinchenko's performance against Aston Villa. I don't like how we're waiting on Barcelona to slip up for Williams in order to push signing for him. Prove we're a big Cubs, step to that signing now. I hear that. And if you activate his release clause, then, he has to have a conversation with you. But we've probably put the feelers out, put the groundwork. And it seems that Barcelona, you can't rule out him staying at Athletic Bilbao. And obviously Barcelona have been on the offensive, really. So you can't really activate a release clause similar to the rhetoric around Sesko when he signed a new deal if the player isn't going to sign, essentially, or is playing quite coy on what he exactly wants to do. Looking like Moreno and Gyökeres are next. If we got that with Neto and maybe another versatile forward or centre mid would be perfect. I'm not going to lie. If you get Gyökeres and Neto, I think you need a centre midfielder. I'd like to, but I don't think you need another forward per se, essentially. So yeah, it's good. It's good problems, man. We prayed for days like this. Shout yourself, Ambrose. I need Chiesa, Arteta redemption. I mean, we've been linked with Chiesa, bearing in mind his contract's running down. It seems like it's the beginning of the end of his time at Juventus. I'm quite pessimistic on those rumours. I like the player in theory, but again, you have to point towards his injuries and Arsenal tax. Are we ever going to see you on a football pitch for our football club? I'm not too sure. Calafiori done deal, medical, hopefully in LA. I'm so happy for this deal. Amen, man. Don't forget to subscribe with Amazon Prime if you've got Twitch. Don't mind if we don't get a striker, only if we get another wide player or someone who can play across the three. If we don't get another attacker, my ideal world, I don't know who agrees, but I would like a striker and a winger. If you can get either or, then I can kind of progress with that. If you do neither, then I'm quite pessimistic on what we're doing now. it's not all about flashy names. I'm sure we'd all love to wake up and we've signed Mbappe, Vinicius, and all those unrealistic ones. And I'm not against floor raises. If you don't raise the ceiling, raise the floor. But assuming we got Moreno, Calafiori's more or less done. Assuming we got Moreno, does that really inspire you to think there's something that gives us an edge over City? Because also signings are not the thing. I think in the last 2 years, as great as Manchester City are, we lost these last two Premier League titles because of ourselves. The season before the one that's just gone, we fell off at the end. Last season, we was near enough perfect. You look back at that December period and obviously the Aston Villa game and many others, for me, Chelsea away where we drew, it was heroic how we came back, but we didn't start the game well. The North London derby where we shot ourselves in the foot indirectly. I think the issue that happened is because Declan Rice came off and the game's too open for someone like Jorginho. So there's many things we could do to arrest there's many things we can arrest internally before we start talking about signings. Bench warmers, incoming, no auto starters. But personally, I like another mid and attacker if we get no new goalkeeper if Ramsdale stays. Do you think Moreno and Rice pivot will work? Because not going to lie, I have my doubts because Moreno is more of an 8 and Rice can't play out of the back. Bit harsh to say Rice can't play out of the back, Don't let the England performances fool you. Moreno can play as a 6 or 8. Whether I think it's the blockbuster one that takes us up a level, no. But I think they're more than they're both very intelligent footballers, especially Moreno. I think he'd be all right. But it's not one where I sit there and I think, wow, I don't know what happened to those mystery German links, man. This is why, I'm more than happy to entertain the talking points and news and things of that ilk. But fundamentally, that's all it stays with, man. 99.9% of these things are BS. Big up DG. Messed up the first half of the season trying to figure out where to play Havertz. It's a striker thing. I'd love to wake up and the way we talk about Havertz up front or what he's done up front, we see similar performance in midfield, but he can play central midfield and he is an option, but that's not what we want to see. He can't progress play. He looks unsure of himself. He's better as that kind of false nine, essentially, really. But you are right. We shot ourselves in the foot first half of the season. We came out of the December period into January. It was romantic, the Dubai trip. We was, battering teams, quite frankly, up and down the country. But that's where the damage is done. And, it's near enough impossible pipping Manchester City to a Premier League title because realistically, how many points could you drop? Had we have got an extra 4 to 6 points, where would we be? I don't think this season coming, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't feel we'll go unbeaten against the top 6. And, you look at the wins, you look at the clean sheets, you look at many metrics, your goals scored. We're getting there, but now we're so close, yet so far. Now we need to really go over the line. We've done this thing for the last 2 years, and I don't want to be the doom of gloom, but for me, when you see teams kind of get into this situation, it's like, you either make several steps forward or there's a bit of a regression. Hopefully, it's not the former, essentially. Rice played 6 first half of last season and was getting man of the match every week. It's like people have forgotten. The problem is with Declan Rice, I think he was done dirty. I think, Jorginho done well. I think Mikel Arteta had to use him more than he would have liked. Obviously, Partey's injury is a spanner in the works. Neither Smith Rowe or Fabio Vieira, for whatever reason, were really given an opportunity. Like somebody said there, the whole Havertz centre mid, there was issues there. A lot of what we did, there was a lot of progression last season. There's a lot to be proud of. But for me personally, I think I would describe last season to a degree as self-inflicted. I feel we gave a good account of ourselves in the Champions League, but we had silly self-inflicting errors that saw us go out against Bayern Munich. We were great in the Premier League, but there were self-inflicting issues with, for me, Chelsea away, Spurs at home, the 2 games against Aston Villa, Newcastle, obviously the first half versus the second half against Aston Villa at home. The worst... West Ham at the Emirates not putting the ball in the back of the net. For me, the worst performance of our Premier League campaign last year has to be Fulham away, because even the games I feel we've dropped points, or the previous examples, there were some things that you could take away in a positive ilk. I feel I keep saying Newcastle. Fulham away, there's not a single positive you could take from that, man. Rice played 6 in a load of games. We dropped points in both Villa games and West Ham. To be fair, everyone's going to share the W's and L's. I want to beat Chelsea's GC record. Unlikely since the game has moved on. Goals conceded. Probably not going to do that though, man, really. Hey, DG, apologies for the late condolences. England definitely don't disappoint. Boy, I'm not too sure about that. Would you rather sell Kiwior or Zinchenko? I think I've answered this kind of before, but if you ain't been here, I'm conflicted. And purely because if I'm Mikel Arteta, which I'm not, and I don't know football like Mikel Arteta, and I'm looking at the Premier League, I know Zinchenko's faults. but I also know his strengths. So I'm more gonna say, you know what, I accept him kind of for what he is and kind of run with that. I think Kiwior's good at stuff, but we haven't, like, what is Kiwior great at? We have not seen that. Maybe some of that's because he hasn't played. Maybe he's lacking confidence. Maybe he's not playing in his natural position at left back. Although last preseason he looked quite good in that inverted role, and you saw Arteta had to tweak the system and demand a bit more of Benjamin White. And again, Kirill's nowhere near Gabriel's spot. Calafiori can give Gabriel some problems, which Gabriel will react a lot well to as well. So it all depends, really and truly. From a footballing point of view, part of me wants to say Zinchenko just because of that inverted stuff. But at the same time, Kiwior as a body in the squad, I know he wouldn't be happy to be marginalized, is something decent. From a business point of view, it seems that Kiwior has a bigger market. You know, he's still linked with Italian clubs. It's radio silence where Zinchenko's concerned. You know, Kiwior's got longer on his contract than Zinchenko. Zinchenko's probably on over 100 grand a week, got 2 years left, you know, on his deal. For someone that's experienced and done all the things he's done in the game is quite telling. So it kind of depends, really and truly. Do I genuinely believe in Kiwior like that? The answer is no. I think, you know, I look at Kiwior, I think there's a lot of, I think fans do too much. I think fans, you know, gas him up a bit too much positively. And then they killed him against Bayern Munich, where, yeah, he got outpaced by Sane. It's effing Sane. And he was quite good against Manchester City away. He got turned once by Bernardo Silva. Obviously, that gets clipped up. He actually did worse in the game against PSV, where, was it Bakayoko turned him over completely. So I don't know, man. I think Kiwior is more likely to push to leave, if I'm honest with you. I think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And also, like, we've got one of the smallest squads, man. I dream of having a 20-man squad. Whether that's attainable and achievable, I don't know. Do you think Arteta has to go if he doesn't win anything again next season? It's one where you can't just say yes or no. Like, really, I side towards more Mikel Arteta in, but there definitely has to be question marks, because you'd imagine at some point before the new season kicks off, Arteta's new deal will be announced. I do think, you know, because I think he's a good manager and, you know, one of the best in the Prem and doing all these things, you have to be held to high standards. And, you know, the rebuild, all of that stuff, it's not that we've gone past it, but one love for that Mikel Arteta. Can you deliver us a Premier League trophy? Because he's still a young manager, he's learning, but at the same time, let's not forget, like, this is Arsenal Football Club essentially, and there was times, had we not have believed in the vision, he might have been sacked. So it all depends on the context. If it's similar to last season, I understand frustration. Like, if this season is completely identical, then you could say, I would say no, but yeah, you could say yes. But then, and I'm not saying this is as a reason to keep Mikel Arteta, but what's the succession plan? If somebody could show me a prototype of what Mikel Arteta is, and what I mean by that is clearly a lot of the things he does, this is what the club want to see. If he could do all of that, and there's kind of a more confidence that this new man can get over the line, then it's one love, Mikel Arteta, man. It is what it is, man. We can talk about the small tinkers forever. Even City shows you're never perfect. But genuinely, what is the biggest issue for you that's limiting Arsenal from being one of the elite clubs in the world? That's a good question, JR. Maybe that again. What is limiting us? We ain't really got deep pockets like that, in it, really and truly, because a part of me would love to see us do what City done, just buy certain players that are of a certain ilk. And I think we want to be winners. I think Mikel Arteta wants to be a winner. I definitely think Josh Kroenke, I'm not backing the Kroenkes, but he sounds a lot more positive than all the Kroenkes. The relationship's a lot better. I definitely think Mikel Arteta and the players want to win. I think they want to win. But is winning the only thing at this football club? In the same way it is, you look at Real Madrid, you have to win. You have to win. Winning is anything less than victory is unacceptable. They've run out someone like Gareth Bale, who's scored in the Champions League final for them. So I would say that, man. Do we want to win, really and truly? I think we want to win, but is winning everything? I'm not too sure. Because if winning was everything, you wouldn't have certain players with the number 14. You wouldn't have certain squad play, you know, you wouldn't have certain players at this football club, respectfully. You wouldn't try to put Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko in higher roles than they had at City. You would have them in identical roles that they had at City, in that they were squad players, and all you'd have better, really. So I'd say that, man. Saying Rice moved to the 8 and we got better is only half true. We got better when Odegaard dropped deeper and we inserted another progression to the side with Jorginho. So does that say we need another midfielder? It's our experience. We grow every year. Yeah, but we need to get stuff over the line. Simple. Edu is limiting us. How is Edu limiting us, though? And I'm not trying to back Edu, but I you know me, I like to be fair. If Arteta is asking for certain players and Edu's getting them, then that's his job. If the board say, this is what you've got to work with, Arteta says, go and get me this, all Edu can say is, if we get him, you know, you might not be able to get him, or you try to get this guy, that guy in here. The last couple of years, Arteta has been provided everything he wants, to the point where some of these players, you know, you saw some rumors a few days ago that the Cronkies don't want to inject more money because we're not really making players, you know, we're not really selling players for decent money. You wanted Ramsdale, fair enough, you wanted David Raya first, but Ramsdale, it seemed like was all right. You wanted another keeper, great. You want Calafiori, where I don't disagree with the signing of Calafiori, but some people would say, you know what, you look at our options, you look at our records, did we need that? You got that. You wanted 65 million Kai Havertz, you got that. You wanted Declan Rice, you got that. You wanted Fabio Vieira, you got that. You wanted Lokonga and Tavares. Either way, they signed up at this club. So is that fair on Edu? How is Edu limiting us? How is Edu limiting us? Because I'm sure, you know, the board or someone probably said, you know what, tie down Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah, they got resale value, but they would not be here if Arteta didn't. So how? And also, obviously, you might be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. This is just a conversation, but if the players play good or bad, we see that with our eyes. If Arteta does something great or bad from a tactical point of view, we see that. We don't see what Edu is doing. We don't know the conversations he's having. Every successful failure is on Arteta now, in my opinion. Like, everything's being made in your image. And this is someone that I'm not Arteta in or Arteta out. I support the damn football club. And I think there's too much being said. I think there's some that wallow in misery, and Arteta can do no right until he wins the Premier League. And quite frankly, I think there's some people that just glaze Mikel Arteta. I've said it before. I think Mikel Arteta could poo in his hands, clap. Some fans would say, you know, that's great. And some fans are just happy to take part in this thing. Again, both sides are right in theory, but you need to find the middle ground. So how can you really say that about Edu? I'm not saying you're wrong, but can we really say that? Like, is that really redundant? Because if you're a sporting director, surely you're at the mercy of what's available in the market and what the manager wants to do. Of course, you know, if Edu is not pulling rabbits out the hat, if he's not finding us some players from Brazil, if he's, you know, he's not held in the certain regard that some of these directors of football are. And we've also got to remember, like, the whole rhetoric of this football club is, not that I agree with it, is everybody's growing together. Arteta, Edu, the players, everybody, even Josh Kroenke versus Stan Kroenke. Josh is probably not new, but new to this football thing, in that you're kind of putting yourself on the front line. We talk about collaboration, so everybody has to share the W's. I do think, you know, when it comes to Mikel Arteta, and more so for the apologists, it's everyone to blame but Arteta. But when we win, it's all Arteta, really. And we win and lose together in this, man. Pep ain't no GOAT. Mourinho showed him levels enough times. I'm not saying Mourinho is a GOAT either. I don't know how we can't say Pep Guardiola isn't a GOAT. I don't know how we can't say Jose Mourinho isn't a GOAT, but fair enough. He doesn't use the Brazilian market well. I mean, he sanctioned Marquinhos. His negotiation skills is horrible, e.g. Mudryk deal. Don't forget Marquinhos deal. He was a free transfer and still paid 3 million for a free transfer. Send me a link to that free transfer stuff. And in relation to Mudryk, again, I hear you. Edu's negotiating could be better, but at the same time, we are not before Chelsea came and gazumped us and did what they was doing. They're not going to fly over to Ukraine and try and dot I's and cross T's if Arteta didn't sanction that, really and truly. And to be fair, a lot of the times you hear around certain signings, we heard it with Kai Havertz, we heard it with Calafiori, we heard there not concerns, but there was concerns, or everyone wasn't unanimously agreed, but Arteta pushed it home. So that tells me in the hierarchy, and obviously if it was a normal job, you've got the owners of the organization, you've got Edu there, and then you've got Arteta, which is probably still the same. But we all know if it comes to it, it is Arteta before Edu. Edu will leave, unless Arteta goes to another club. Edu will get clipped before Arteta, in my opinion. And I'm not backing Edu, man. But I just don't think it's fair to just consistently draw him out. I mean, sales is where Edu could do a lot better. There was a lot of contracts ripping up, but at the same time, you're inheriting mess. Other clubs might have got something, but, you know, you look at Bamian, Pepe, half of these guys. I mean, for Edu, you need to get better at sales, essentially. And Balogun was a step in the right direction. Hopefully we get something decent where Kiwior, Smith Rowe, Nelson and Nketiah and any other player I haven't said is concerned. Keep the talking points coming. Don't forget to smash the like button, folks. Sales, he don't know how to sell. Letting Aubameyang go for free when Chelsea got good money for him. Putting Eddie and Nelson on big money for no reason. Some of this could be Arteta's fault, but who knows? They have to share the blame, and you're right. Edu has to hold that, really, and truly, if I'm completely honest. We are against the GOAT manager, an anomaly of a team. We are so close, whether it's Arteta or someone, it's right there, which is also true, but at the same time, this is the dynamics. Of course, you know, in my 29 years, I think we deserve to win the league in the last 2 years, but we didn't, because the table doesn't always tell the truth. It doesn't lie either. So it's almost an impossible job, because we know most rational fans know you can't win or lose. You can't win every game. You're going to lose and draw. But it almost feels like when you're fighting City for this Prem, you can't afford to be in that sort of situation. And I said before, you know, you look at the season before last, on the face of it, City won a treble. History is going to be very kind to our football club because, you know, City are, the footballing gods just blessed them that day, that season. But at the same time, we didn't win the last 2 leagues before us. And I think that's the beyond the obvious, that's the only positive I can really take in that. I don't think, obviously City are better than us. They're light years away of us generally, but across the course of the season, I think before you look at how good City are, you look at what they've got or what Pep did and all of these things. There's games we shot ourselves in the foot or things we didn't do or players we haven't got and certain things that we had to do that contributed to ultimately us falling short. Falling short. I do like the romance around this football club. The young players, people like Kai Havertz, you know, seen as damaged goods, etc. For the large period of his 38-game calendar, it's very romantic. But you see, once that rom-com stops and football is ugly, can we get over the line? I can't tell you we can because we ain't done it, people. Big up True Gunner and Oliver. So, yeah, keep your thoughts coming, man. But, yeah, we are experienced, man. But there's a lot of self-inflicted things. Like last season, beyond the obvious, maybe if we had a striker, we wouldn't have had them issues in December. We could have got out of jail with a couple of things. Central midfield, no one could tell me that's not an issue. We got away with it. But evidently, Mikel Arteta is not convinced on the left-back options or Calafiori wouldn't have arrived. With the greatest of respect to Timber and Tomiyasu because we know they're great. We need more of them line-breaking passes from Zinni. I mean, when are we going to get an opportunity to say that? They need Arteta. Who else would come in and give what he gave? It's a relationship of convenience, man. But I hear that. And that's the thing, you know, that goes back to what someone asked about what's stopping us getting to Real Madrid and all them kind of teams level is winning would be nice, is winning everything. Because some people might sit there and say, you know, Arteta, you've been good, you know, you've been very good. Big up yourself. Bring someone else in. And again, who is that someone else? Because clearly there's a project, there's a model. We want a young, kind of forward-thinking new manager. We'd all love Carlo Ancelotti at this football club. It don't make sense Carlo leaving Real Madrid to join us. If Pep Guardiola was ever available in a fantasy world and he wanted to leave City and sign for Arsenal, Arteta, I'm sorry, like it's got to happen, innit? But these things are not going to happen. At best, we just have to wait for Pep Guardiola to leave, really and truly, man, because I do think City will still be up there, but they won't have this generational coach. I think the league will get a bit more fairer in that you see a lot more different teams winning the league year in, year out kind of thing. We need to be ready. United are getting there, trying or attempting to get their stuff together. Chelsea at some point will be doing their thing. Liverpool, I don't know what they're doing under their new manager. They need to probably sort out Trent and Van Dijk's future and bring some people in. Everyone apart from Spurs is going to be serious. In the next 5 years, Newcastle are going to probably win a league title if they can get things right. So when Pep leaves, let's just be ready. Obviously, we want to win the league next year, but let's just be ready to scumbag some trophies and then take it from there, in my opinion, man. If I'm completely honest. After Edu and Arteta destroying our club, look where our banter club is now. Boy. We need to get better, man. I don't think nobody is more impatient than Mikel Arteta because Mikel Arteta don't sound like the people that are glazing him. The man literally says, we want to win. We need to win. I want to win. We need to win. I want to win. He keeps saying it, man. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans lack a lot of balance, man. Lack a lot of balance, really. There's some that just we can do no right. Some people, it's positive to the point where it's toxic. But again, football is a game of heightened emotions and things. So again, most people can't handle the truth. And a lot of people are emotionally invested. There's people out there that would cheat on their husband or wife. They wouldn't dare support another football club other than Arsenal, whatever club they support. I think Arteta has and is doing a great job. The biggest criticism I can give him is we need to get better in the cups. I must admit, Mikel Arteta, since we won the FA Cup, we've been atrocious in that. And I won't ever say we're throwing it away, but yeah. And what I would say is I know many people would have sat there and said, oh, you only won the FA Cup. But I think people would have been a bit calmer had we have won an FA Cup. Of course, we want the champs. For me, I would rather win the Champions League than the Premier League. As I've said, we're too big of a club not to have that. And it's the biggest club competition there is. But you need to kind of bully the league domestically before you talk on a continental kind of thing, if I'm honest. I'm slightly interested why Juventus moved Douglas Luiz more than Arsenal. Honestly, I really don't know, man. I love that line, the table tells the truth, but it doesn't always tell the full truth. You're on fire right now, brother Brandon. Appreciate that. Blaming Edu for Mudryk after Chelsea overpaid and clearly promised investment into their country. We saved it, really. And to be fair with you, I have to give Edu credit. I mean, on one hand, I don't really want to give the club credit because you should be doing a lot of what we're myself as well that I'm making videos and praising about and talking about. This is what a competent team should be doing. This is what we should have been doing a long time ago. But at the same time, as much as it can frustrate me at times, I kind of admire the fact that if we can't sign someone, we're signing no one, because we've done that before. We wanted Zaha, we went and got Pepe. Don't get twisted. Pepe should have been a lot better, but we saw the mess that we was in there. You know, we buckled under pressure of giving certain men new contracts. We saw what happened. Something has to change, surely, man. Do you think we're better off offering Palace and Nketiah plus cash for Eze instead of Gurhi? We don't need him. I don't buy the Gurhi rumors. I think there's a level of admiration. God forbid if Saliba left or we needed a centre half, I think Gurhi's someone they would look at, but we're really not going to pay 50 odd million to sign someone that would give us great, stronger options and would definitely make Saliba and Gabriel and the defensive options have to look over their shoulder, but it doesn't make sense. Keyword, significant investment. Surely you're better off doing that in centre midfield and up front and out wide and things of that ilk. In relation to Eze, you know, if Crystal Palace genuinely want Nketiah and Nketiah's got a willingness and that knocks some price off the cash, go and do that, man. Who wouldn't want Eze at the club? Again, you never know. Nketiah has been linked with a lot of clubs. It seems like it's an aggressive Marseille kind of rumours thing at this moment in time. Respectfully to Crystal Palace, if you're in Nketiah, who would you rather sign for, Crystal Palace or Marseille? I don't think there's an answer. I'm not too sure on where Marseille finished in the French league, but there might be the opportunity to play in Europe in some capacity. No disrespect to Crystal Palace, but Marseille is one of the most heaviest supported clubs in France, bordering on religious support. Playing for a passionate club is lit. Roberto De Zerbi is obviously a good gaffer, and you're in a top 5 league as well. Obviously, don't get it twisted. The new Crystal Palace gaffer is great. They've got great fans. You're playing in the Premier League. He's a South London lad as well, so that kind of thing as well. So it all depends what the guy wants to do, essentially, man. Who's behind Anthony? That please. One thing I want to listen. I'll always give a signing a chance, but I do want us to get away from this whole Mikel Arteta can save everyone. He's a great coach, but he's not Jesus. Forgive me for blasphemy. He's not a biblical figure or a religious figure. He's not going to get everyone right. He can't save everyone, you know. You can't really and truly, you know. We can't sit here and say, oh, sign Mudryk, sign Rashford, sign Sancho, sign this guy, sign that guy, because Arteta is going to save them. I have no doubt he would make them look a lot better, but he can't save everyone. You know, as much as I like the Havertz signing and things of that ilk, can we just get some players that haven't necessarily gone through certain trials and tribulations that these lads have, man? Eddie should have never got the number 14 shirt. I rate Eddie for taking it personally. Pause. I rate him for it because you know the pressure that comes with the shirt. You live in your dream, you know, wearing Henry's number. But you are right, man. Never should have got that, really and truly. Even though I disagree with DG half of the time, football's subjective. No one's right, no one's wrong. I rock with his content. Arsenal need to act as a serious club if they want to be a big three. Surely we're big three in England at the moment. If you pull out of the Mudryk deal, then sign a Kudus or the RB. I mean, had we have got the RB, you know, he probably would have effed off to the Middle East. I would have loved to have seen Kudus. And to be fair with Mudryk, obviously it looks like we've dodged a bullet. Undoubtedly, he's even shaved his hair. He's trying to be serious now. But just because Chelsea's environment is terrible. It's terrible. How many managers has that man had? Probably about 2 to 3 now. And there's a billion players. He might have thrived in this Arsenal system. Who knows, man? But we dodged the bullet. Would have loved Kudus when he was at Ajax, man. A man said I did cheat on my girl, but never my club. Girls, I don't cheat. Shout me. I'm single, you know. Brown skin and that, lit and that. You know, I'm getting 30 next year. It's about time to settle down, you know what I mean? But yeah, people, keep your thoughts coming. And winning does breed winners. Again, you look at Pep Guardiola, of course, he was there, in my opinion, to dominate the Premier League, but also to win the Champions League, which he's accomplished. He did all of that at City. But look how many League Cups the man there won. Like, you're right. It does create a winning mentality and fair, you know. I know us fans were a bit snooty. Oh, it's the League Cup. It's only the FA Cup. It's this, it's that. Bro, how many players that participate in all of these competitions year in, year out, how many actually win competitions? How many footballers actually end their careers winning stuff? The numbers, it's a numbers game. It's not really good. I don't think any player at Arsenal does not. Of course, you got your eyes on the big trophies. Who doesn't want to win Prems and Champs and, boy, England, I don't know, but World Cups and whatnot. But I don't think anyone does not want to win the League Cup. And again, we can't afford to be snooty because I look around the club. What have you lot won? And if you have won stuff of significance, you've been at this club when we won the FA Cup and the English Super Cup, Community Shield. And if you did win Prems or Champs or anything, you didn't do it here. So it's irrelevant. Nobody can afford to believe that anything's above them, really. We need to win something, man. We need to win something. I'm sure we've got we've all got Manchester United supporting friends, and they rewrite history. Oh, Ten Hag got a League Cup and an FA Cup, which is true, but there's no way that they would not. I won't say trade those trophies, but the sentiment around the football clubs, there's no way they wouldn't prefer that, essentially, man. But their nickname's the Red Devils. When are we going to take anything seriously coming from them lot, man, essentially? But yeah, moving on, people, keep your talking points coming. I'm not aware of the time, actually. I would love Eze, man. I would love Eze at the carpet. But yeah, looking at David Ornstein, he did make an article a few hours ago. He said, Arsenal on the cusp of Ricardo Calafiori signing with defender set for medical. All agreements are now in place for Arsenal to sign Bologna defender Ricardo Calafiori. The Italy international must still undergo medical checks and put pen to paper. So he's still got to do the medicals. God forbid, there's nothing wrong there. And he's still got to put pen to paper. But for Ornstein to come out and make these posts, there must be a significant breakthrough or something of that ilk. Also, yeah, Marseille, would you rather live in South London, or I don't even know where Marseille is in France? Is that the south of France? But I'm not sure. So you are right. However, the deal itself is essentially done, Ornstein. And if everything goes to plan, the 22-year-old can be expected to join Arsenal's pre-season tour to the United States. Hopefully in the next 48 hours that happens, he gets on a plane, and where Liverpool and Manchester United fixtures and the Emirates Cup, he's involved. Having begun his career as a left back, but more recently impressed at centre back, Calafiori was a transfer priority for Mikel Arteta. The Athletic reported last week that Arsenal, the club, were accelerating efforts to complete the acquisition. Calafiori's former side Basel are entitled to a sell-on clause of between 40 and 50%, which they negotiated in his 2023 switch to Bologna. So he finally gets some stability. He did help them get the Champions League, people. And obviously you saw what he did in the Euros for Italy. When they went out, he actually wasn't there. Technically, he will be our second signing. David Raya's move's been made permanent. So even though Ornstein hasn't said a price here. We've seen everything from 40 to 50 million euros. You slap on the 27 that we've given to Brentford for Raya. That's what we've spent so far. And I don't know how far our budget stretches before we talk about potential outgoings, where Tavares is left on loan with an obligation. Lokonga, there's an option. Obviously, we've got some money from Mika Berev. Cedric Suarez has kept it moving, as has El Nene. I mean, technically, surely, because they both moved to English clubs, where Koza Druby to Brighton and Waters to Luton, because I'm sure we get some sort of compensation. It's not a lot, but yeah. And then you hope that, because they don't appear to be in the club's plans, the Tierney's, the Charlie Paternos, probably at some point Aaron Ramsdale, Kiwior, this is all money that could be reinvested into the football club, or specifically some signings. Romano spoke and said, everybody's working to get this move in the right direction. He said Calafiori would join Arsenal, no doubt, since Saturday, as a deal has been agreed. So there you have that, people. There's also, Arsenal have been forced to include a sell-on clause in the deal, and allegedly will pay 50 million euros where Calafiori is concerned. As you can imagine, articles already saying several players' positions are up for debate. Mainly with Arsenal fans, it's been Calafiori or Timber. This says Gabriel. If everyone in that defense needs to buck up their ideas, not that I can say they didn't, because I wouldn't want to lose my place. I think Gabriel's probably our most underrated defender, underappreciated defender. I know this year he's finally got his own chant and getting a lot of respect, but people onto him. Now, Reece Nelson's almost exclusively been linked with West Ham. Ironically, David Ornstein did say a few weeks ago, Reece Nelson has informed Arsenal that he wants to assess his options. I don't know how you lot are, but will we probably let Reece Nelson go until we bring a winger in? I'm not sure, but he's also said for Romano in Nelson's case, Leicester City have opened talks with Arsenal for him, a loan deal with an obligation to buy in talks over financial terms with Arsenal. Leicester are confident they can persuade Nelson if the clubs come to terms, as he's previously worked with Steve Cooper. I mean, Leicester won the Premier League before, before us in the Emirates era. He's obviously worked with Steve Cooper. I mean, the fact that Leicester are apparently throwing their hat into the ring, we know Brighton have been interested. He's been aggressively linked with West Ham, who seem to be the front runners. The only winners here are Arsenal. Player don't want to be here. Obviously, let's be honest, big up Nelson, but he's not a main kind of guy in this in what we're doing. Keep it moving, essentially. If I was Nelson, which I'm not, I'd rather go to West Ham personally. I have no clue of what Leicester's plans are, and anything can happen. But you would imagine the immediate plan for Leicester after coming up to the Premier League. What a hero Vardy is staying there and helping them get promoted again on top of everything he's done. But you'd imagine, unless something crazy happens, West Ham are assured Premier League safety next season. They're a team that finds their way in European competition. Obviously, there's the London aspect as well. And would it be too... Well, no, it wouldn't be wrong to say West Ham have a stronger squad, in my opinion. And to be fair, we owe West Ham you know, because somehow Declan Rice looks like a bargain for 100 odd million. So that's where Reece Nelson's concerned. Again, apparently West Ham are rattled. Reece Nelson looks to be on the path to Leicester despite agreeing to join West Ham, who are apparently very keen on him. Talks have been described as progressing where Leicester and Reece Nelson are concerned. So you lot put your money up in it. Barcelona allegedly are pushing to sign Mikel Moreno, apologies, but he looks destined to complete a move to Arsenal, allegedly, says this report. We all know the 28-year-old apparently is available for 20 to 30 million euros and has 1 year left on his contract. So I have to see. And, you know, where these two are concerned, Dani Olmo and Nico Williams, it seems like they're more of a priority where Barcelona are concerned. I think, you know, all my long-term supporters, and big up you lot know how passionate I am about central midfield. And I think midfield needs some surgery, really, because we've got some great defensive options. We want a winger and a striker, but we've got some good options up there. It's not that we don't have good options in the middle of the park, but there's more questions than answers. We know Odegaard's our captain. We know Declan Rice is one of the two in the pivot. If anything happens to Declan Rice, God forbid, what happens? And we're going to have to do without him for the American tour. What happens? Who is Declan Rice's partner? He's had a lot of partners and he's having to do too much. Partey, quality player. Injuries are a thing. Probably expect him to get injured again. Jorginho's a good player. Neither player have long-term in them in that they're 31. And I've said before, take nothing away from Jorginho. I personally think Mikel Arteta had to play him and utilize him a lot more than he banked on. We're still linked with Gyökeres. Allegedly, we're back in the race for Gyökeres and are preparing a massive offer for the Sporting Lisbon striker. Apparently, Sporting Lisbon are demanding that his release clause of 100 million euros is paid. However, Arsenal are attempting to test the waters with an offer in the region of 70 million euros, which equates to about 55 to 60 million euros. Now, if you're Sporting Lisbon and you've just signed him, because this would be like his second season, I wouldn't say the striker market is dead. In terms of the modern day striker dropping deep and doing all of that sort of stuff, they're there. But in terms of proven goal scorers, the striker market in my 29 years has probably been the worst it's ever been. So when you've got one of those at your club, you want to provoke a bidding war and you don't want to let them go easy. And this is a man that got 43 goals in 50 games in all comps last year and 29 in the league. That would be great for us, man. Because it wouldn't shock me if Kai Havertz continues this goal scoring, but it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't. The same goes for Gabriel Jesus. I love Trossard, but it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't get those numbers. Martinelli, love the guy, but there's a lot of versatility in his goal scoring exploits, as shown in the last 2 years, which goes back to what I said at the start. We know we're going to score goals. We got 91 goals last year, and however many, 80 or the year before. Who is going to get these goals? Goals win games. And for the large part of the season, we have more than enough to go through and do what we need to do. But getting those extra points on the board, as I said, those 4 to 6 points, had we have had that, we're having very different conversations at the end of last season. We're having parades and the rest of it, people. So I don't know. But yeah, I really like how this Twitter account is recapping a lot of stuff. We've gone over Reece Nelson. Allegedly, Fulham are ready in a second bid for Smith Rowe and are having internal discussions about the structure of such bid. Subscribe and smash the like button if you haven't. Goalkeeper saying that Nketiah remains a big target for Marseille people and they're working to sign him on loan with an obligation. Aaron Ramsdale could leave on loan as Arsenal's valuation of £35 million and his wages of over 100k could be prohibitive to a permanent sale. Doesn't seem like there's a market for Aaron Ramsdale for all the clubs that were linked with him. He has been linked with Southampton, but again, Southampton are probably more likely to get relegated than Leicester. Are they going to spend? We need a lot more. I don't believe that. We need more than 35 million in my opinion, but he is on wages over 100 grand. Are you going to make that investment where you don't know if you're going to stay in the Premier League? I mean, Aaron Ramsdale could leave on loan, you know. I think Aaron Ramsdale's already said he wants to leave. I hope Aaron Ramsdale, it's a bit bad mind from me, but I hope he wants to give it another crack and think he can take Raya's spot just for another year and then look to move him on, if I'm honest. We've gone over Moreno. Apparently, Sociedad have offered him a new deal to make him one of the highest earners. However, there's pessimism about him signing that. He has been linked with Atletico Madrid, who apparently he's not convinced by, tentatively linked with Chelsea, and he's still linked with Barcelona, but financially, it doesn't seem like they're on that, and apparently Arsenal are best placed. We've gone over Calafiori, contract signing the medical imminent. Apparently, DiMarzio on Osimhen is saying that it's possible that Arsenal could bid later in the window. I mean, it is possible. We need a striker, but beyond that just being feasible, what's the evidence to suggest we could do that? Because it does feel like there's a waiting game. Osimhen's been linked with PSG. It seems like they're trying to drive the price down. Kiwior's been linked with Inter Milan. There is no agreement, people, with the club and Inter Milan. Apparently, Kiwior's got an agreement with them. They're playing the waiting game to sign him on loan. But you do hear Arsenal want a permanent transfer or a sale with an obligation. Zinchenko is excited to play wherever Mikel wants him and relishes the competition, so that tells you he's staying. We've obviously had a bid rejected for Wolves goalkeeper Dan Bentley, and we know Tavares is cut, Lokonga's cut, and Raya's move's been made permanent, so there's not really too much there. Arteta did say in this summer and this season will be interesting. He said, when you're so close, you really want to grab it. But I think you have to analyze the whole thing. In the end, the outcome this football club has is to win major trophies. And we're in the process to achieve that. We are very close. The level that we are showing is extremely high, but it's not enough to win it. That's the target. And I mean, for all the people that glaze Arteta, the man has said that himself. We have once upon a time been linked with João Neves, people, the young Benfica central midfielder. It seems like PSG are on his case. We've already gone over that. What have we got here? Kiwior again has said yes to Inter Milan and he's keen to push through a switch. 1 minute is Napoli, then it's Roma, then it's AC Milan, then it's Juventus. It appears that it's Inter at this moment in time. Apparently, Inter have put the feelers out regarding Kiwior's potential availability, and the Arsenal man has said yes to the Serie A champions. I can't begrudge him from that, people. Apparently, the report says that Kiwior has overtaken Torino captain Ricardo Rodriguez at the top of Simeone Inzaghi's shortlist of defensive targets, and Inter are determined to land the Polish international. It's claimed Arsenal have so far been unreceptive to the idea of a loan agreement for Kiwior, which Inter favour due to their financial situation. This is the issue with the Italian clubs, though, man. However, the San Siro Giants are willing to pay the waiting game. He's tied down to a contract at the Emirates until 2028. Apparently, he's got an option of a further year, and he has been linked with Juventus as well, people. So we're going to have to see. He's been linked with AC Milan as well, people, but apparently the player's agent poured cold water on such and insisted he is loyal to Arsenal at this moment in time. There's conflicting reports on Inter's interest. I mean, how interested are Inter? It makes sense if you've got injuries at left back, centre back, and there's been some movement in terms of you not being able to get your targets. It makes sense to be linked with Kiwior. He done well in Italy, can't buy a game at Arsenal. But how much are they willing to pay, if anything? If they want a loan with an option, naturally, if you're Inter, you want to do that. You've got no financial commitment beyond the initial investment. For Arsenal, you have somebody that returns to the football club next summer and you don't know what you're doing. Of course, if he has a great loan spell, he might even get a future at Arsenal or be sold for a decent amount of profit. He played 945 minutes of action across 20 games. Now, he did well against Liverpool, he did well against Chelsea, did well, in my opinion, in a collective performance, apart from Bernardo Silva skinning him against City. But let's be honest, injuries are the only reason Kiwior got that run in the side. So we'll have to see, man. Tomorrow will probably be linked with another club. Nico Williams sends message to Barcelona and Arsenal as transfer battle heats up. Let's see the clickbait here. He isn't biting his nails. What specifically has the man said? He said, calm down, topped off with it. Okay, whatever this means. This isn't saying anything. But okay, fair enough. Bit of nonsense there. Apparently, Arsenal defender changes stance on future as he gets ready to make huge U-turn. These journalists are great. Benjamin White, naturally, Southgate leaving. Benjamin White can, regain his England career, which is good news for England fans, bad news for Arsenal fans, because it was nice to have. Obviously, I want my players to always play for their country, but Benjamin White plays every minute for Arsenal. It was nice to see him just have a rest, really and truly. Again, Arsenal make new approach for Juventus star as Spurs fell, as Ornstein confirms Calafiori set for medical. Apparently, Arsenal made a fresh approach to sign Juventus winger Cheisa after Tottenham failed to turn interest into negotiations. Fair enough, really and truly. Apparently, a turning point has arrived that could be decisive in his future, with Juventus waiting for the right offer to release the 26-year-old. Chiesa will most likely leave this summer, as the old lady want to avoid losing him for free next summer when his contract at the Serie A side expires. Apparently, there's been approaches from Chelsea and Spurs, but it hasn't come into anything. Arsenal have made a new survey for Chiesa, with the Gunners apparently having contacts with Juventus to understand the conditions of a possible Chiesa deal. And now we have to see whether the move will materialize or not. So I guess we'll have to see, people. Again, Osimhen is still linked with PSG. I think we can all give up on the Osimhen stuff. What's this? Arsenal in relation to the youth side. What's this? Arsenal launch aggressive new academy plan to help Mikel Arteta and stop more exits. I mean, we've been hearing that Arsenal want to sign more recruits at youth level. We've gone after a couple players from Chelsea and City. Hasn't come to anything. We know a couple of players unfortunately have left, and we know 12 players are traveling with the squad to they're actually in America. Chido Obi Martin, he wasn't pictured around the new scholars. It seems like he could be going Man United or Bayern Munich or whatever. Big up Obi Martin. I wish him all the best, but from a selfish Arsenal fan point of view, it's irrelevant now if you're not at the club, people. So yeah, we've heard Arsenal are scouting Scotland and Northern Ireland, and we've bought an Irish lad, and he's been named among the academy people. And we know we got Tommy Setford. Ironically, Setford and Nordgaard, the two keepers we've signed, they're probably going to get some action across these 3 games because neither David Raya or Aaron Ramsdale are part of the American tour so far. Speaking of young players, never seen this guy, but Arsenal and Newcastle have made late moves for 15-year-old midfielder Kieran Thompson from West Ham. The player had been set to join Spurs, but both clubs have presented their projects to Thompson in the last 10 days with a decision expected soon. Come and join the dark side, man. Kiwior and Inter Milan are close to an agreement, as we went over already. We've gone over that. Cheisa apparently hasn't even joined up with the Juventus squad for pre-season. Apparently, Osimhen does not want to go to Saudi Arabia, while other offers for the player have been lower than Napoli's demand. It is worth paying attention to the Premier League. It's possible Arsenal could present an offer sooner or later, says DiMarzio, folks. There, I'm not too sure we're going to sign Patrick Dorgu, people. Isn't he a left back and he plays for Leeds? As it says there, the 19-year-old is a talented player, but are we really going to put 25 million quid down or 30 million euros when it seems that we've got left back sorted? Unless he's a generational talent, which I'm not informed enough to know, but take of that what you will. Apparently, Nketiah has agreed personal terms with Marseille. Fulham, we've already gone over that, are to bid again for Smith Rowe. You lot keen on any of these free transfers, people? I mean, you could sign allegedly free transfers in which Lloyd Kelly and Tolson are gone, but there's Varane, there's Andre Gomez, there's Martial, there's Eldene Cedric, there's Dele Alli, there's Hermoso, there's Depay. Boy, there's a lot of decent options, really. If I was playing Football Manager, I might have signed a couple of them on free transfers. Rabiot as well. Don't think that's going to help us. Arsenal prefer to keep Smith Rowe, but won't go against the players' wishes. So we've heard that, people. We were once upon a time linked with Juventus' Dean Hudson, but it seems like Liverpool and Aston Villa are front runners for that. Liverpool apparently haven't got the money for Gurley. He's been linked with us. And again, you've seen 50 million. This says 70 million. So it's fair to put the Arsenal rumours to bed. Nobody cares about Cheetah or Martin anymore, if I'm honest with you. Somerville would be a decent one to look at. We were linked with Lunin. Apparently, Chelsea are eyeing up a move for him, people. Moussa Diaby, it's mad, isn't it, really? He's agreed to move to the Middle East after 1 season at Aston Villa where they've got the Champions League. But if you're getting 400 grand a week, I can't begrudge him, and I don't think you lot can either, people. Apparently, we bidded for Conde. I don't think anybody believes that, people. So that seems to be the transfer news. Again, I need a favor from you lot. It takes 2 seconds, people. Vote for the guy, man. It's about time the DG Nation gets out there. Versus presented by Chivas Regal. It's about trailblazers of the future of football, and I think you can vote for photographers, content creators. Hint, hint. Vote for the guy. Big up you lot who have already. So yeah, let's get that done. And early on Thursday morning, people, we will be watching Arsenal versus Bournemouth together. So yeah, join me for a watch along. I know I normally go live an hour before, but allow me, I'm going to get a quick nap, people, and probably need a bit of coffee before that game. So yeah, man, what have you lot been saying up in there? And you appreciate that, man. Inter. To be fair, the Italian clubs love a free agent. Would be so sweet to beat Barcelona to their top 2 targets. Osimhen, let's get him at the Emirates. I can't see what's happening, man. Petition to ban these journalists using ChatGPT. They're getting worse by the day. To be fair, ChatGPT is quite helpful, man. Tommy Setford is a good investment. Yeah, I mean, if he can progress and one day be our first choice goalie, amazing stuff. If you can get him for 300, 400k and you turn him into a 10, 20, 30 million pound player, keep it moving, really. I don't know if he'll ever, because remember, he's young for a goalie. Raya isn't exactly old. So there could be a reality, you know, like I'm exaggerating, but, you know, Raya is not Petr Cech and Tommy Setford is not Courtois, but Chelsea had that scenario where Cech was the number 1, Courtois the new kid on the block. If that happens, then things can happen. But I'd be surprised if this time next year, or at least January of 2020, it would be 2026, if Tommy Setford ain't gone on loan, because I can't imagine it don't help you playing under 21s football for too long. Get me De Jong, Rafinha, Neto. I'd rather Neto. I wouldn't mind De Jong, even though I don't think he solves all our issues beyond being a great player. I don't know. I don't think he's got bad mentality, but is he a dog in that regards when things go wrong? It seems like when Barca are in tough moments, De Jong downs tools as well, man. Rafinha, I'm not really on it, man. If we bring him, fair enough, but I'm not really on it. Like at least with Neto and Williams, you can play on the left and the right. And I mean, Rafinha plays for Barcelona, played for Leeds, plays for Brazil. You can play on the left-hand side, but there's quite the contrast. And you know your second fiddle to Saka. Man like Rashi would be the dream. I mean, it's more the illusion of what Rashford could be under Mikel Arteta. The reality is we'd need an investment as soon as he plays at the Emirates, really, if I'm honest with you. Jorginho and Partey gone after next season too. It might just be more important than a striker. Big up you, man. You landed in Kenya. Safe holiday / vacation and return flight, man. Appreciate you for tuning in. He's got to go, mate. If we can't buy, if we don't sell. Is that necessarily true? We've gone over the Gyökeres stuff. So yeah, Mark is saying Marseille is a lovely place. So there you have it, really and truly. We'll win something. Another goalpost will be moved. Ignore them, man. Of course, if we win the Prem, you've only won it once. If you won the Champs, you've only won it once. You win the FA Cup, it's only the FA Cup. You win the League Cup, it's only the League Cup. But I'd rather win it and deal with them things later, man. Agendas are always going to agenda. De Jong is soft and he's injury prone. That's harsh. DG mashing up his sleep schedule for these preseason games. Committed to the cause, man. Committed to the cause, man. But on that note, people, it's been a fantastic hour with you lot's talking points, going over the news. It seems like Calafiori, we're making great progress there. Again, I'm not going to get too excited until we hear medicals done and he's holding the shirt and telling us, even though he's 22, so he definitely didn't watch Thierry Henry and Bergkamp and all these guys, but lying to us in the same way you're seeing Lenny Yoro lie and that Salvio guy that went for City lie as well. Footballers are liars, man. But yeah, man, for those of you that will be awake, obviously, link me for the Bournemouth game. Obviously, when that game's done, I'll do a reaction to the game and any other emerging talking points and news. Get that sorted. If you haven't hit the like button or subscribe, make sure you're doing such. Big up you lot on Twitter and Twitch. I will say this though: if Zinchenko leaves and you want someone to hold the bench, Mikel Arteta, I know someone.
Against this right back, Charlie.
I'm just saying, I ain't seen Timber, Zinchenko, Calafiori do that. I'm just saying.
Always just like, I think, like